and Dementia Care, published in 2017, it's estimated that 65 million people will be diagnosed with dementia by the year 2030. My grandpa is one of those people. He was diagnosed with dementia in 2010, and since then, my family has really learned a lot about the disease. Being that I consider my grandpa one of my best friends, I really didn't want this to change the way things were. So what I'm going to share with all of you, that is how to care for those with dementia, is extremely important in making sure my grandpa and all those diagnosed can have the best life they possibly can. Before I get into the how-tos, what is dementia? Dementia is a very broad term that includes a lot of different brain diseases that cause long-term and gradual decrease in mental and physical function. The specific brain disease my grandpa has is Lewy bodies dementia. WebMD defines Lewy body dementia in their 2017 Alzheimer's Guide. Lewy bodies are clumps of protein that can form in the brain. When they build up, they can cause problems in the way your brain works, including your memory, movement, thinking skills, mood, and behavior. All the brain diseases that are included under dementia have very similar symptoms. The most common is extreme trouble with memory, also difficulties with multitasking, shaky hands, a slow shuffled walk, and even mood swings. They're all very common. Now onto the how-tos of caring. Step one, I'd say, is accepting the diagnosis. You never want a loved one to be diagnosed with dementia, or seeing someone who you've known your whole life really kind of slowly turn into a different person can be extremely difficult. You have to realize you can't change them and that this is the way things are going to be now, but you can change. You can change how you act around them to give them the best life. Step two would be the treatment of dementia. There are mainly two medications that can be used to treat the symptoms because there is no cure for it. Mayo Clinic describes the two most common medications in their 2015 Diagnosis and Treatment section of Dementia Overview. The first one is cholinesterase inhibitors. These are medications that work by boosting the levels of chemical messenger in the brain that have to do with things like memory and judgment. The second most common one is memantine, which regulates the activity of glutamate, another chemical messenger involved in brain functions, such as learning and judgment. Step three is to really know how to act around the diagnosed person. Things like simple communication, such as speaking slowly and clearly to them to get your message across, also not presenting too many choices to them, just basically minimal brain work on their part is the best. Positivity. Janssen's 2017 Coping with Dementia article suggests to avoid saying don't or using negative commands. So instead of saying, don't go in that room, you're not supposed to be in there, you'd say something like, hey, why don't we go over to this room instead? Just sort of put a positive twist on everything. Exercise is also very important, physical and mental, because if they don't use it, they're going to lose it. So nothing extremely strenuous, but a little bit here and there, both physical and mental, each week can be extremely beneficial. Lastly, it's important to be aware and know when things are getting too difficult to handle. I personally see this a lot with my grandma, who loves my grandpa to death and always is trying to make things easiest for him, but my mother and I, we see her strain herself a lot, and we always get mad at her for not asking us for help. So it's really important to know when to ask for help, whether it be from your family or maybe it's gotten to the point where a home health care assistant is needed. It's extremely important to be aware of you as a caregiver, what you're capable of, and where the diagnosed person is, where they are on the spectrum of dementia, and how much care they're going to need. All in all, dementia is an extremely unfortunate disease to be faced with, but life doesn't have to end there. I've seen it personally with my grandpa. Those diagnosed can live each day with a positive outlook on life, as long as their supporters know the proper and most beneficial ways to care for them.